Hey guys, in this video we're going to continue with our series on looking at money and the budget situation for my 12-year-old son Diego. This is the third video in the series, and specifically today we're going to talk about earning. Earning is going to cover a lot of ground, so it's actually going to be split into two parts. In this video today, right now, we're going to talk about how he contributes to our household, what kinds of things he does to earn money, and how we lock that in. I call it locking it in. And then in the next video after this, which will be video number 4, we will finish talking about earning. We'll talk about payday and what he does with his money and all that good stuff. Okay, now before we jump in, I do want to give a little bit of a language warning. I don't use a lot of strong language, but I do sometimes. In fact, in our household, we all do. I think that life is better for everybody when you have the full range of words to use, and you don't feel like you have to use your body or other things to express emotions and thoughts and ideas. So although I don't use strong language often, I do sometimes, and I might today. Okay, so on to earning. How does my 12-year-old son earn money? Before we talk about earning, we have to zoom out a little bit because earning happens within a bigger context of doing other things. So if you imagine 3 circles that are, kind of inside each other, first it's me. So his first responsibilities are in the area of taking care of himself. So it's cleaning up after himself. It's a whole list of things, and like everything else, it's been gradual and it's changed over time. But the first category of ways that he contributes to our household is by contributing to himself and not being a burden to the household. And I know that might sound a little bit harsh. I don't really think it is, because he can feel the flip side of that. He also likes it when his sister is not a burden to the household or to him, in that way. So that involves cleaning up after yourself. Like I said, they share a bathroom, so it's, leaving it tidy when you're done brushing your teeth or going to the restroom or whatever for the next person who uses it, which might actually be you. So that's the first kind of area of things that he does. And then around that would be contributing to the household. So these are things that he does because he lives here and he's appreciative, and because he loves his family and he wants to help out. And that is different things all the time. It's always been different things. And that can be another video talking about how he contributes to the household in terms of what his responsibilities are specifically for himself, and then what his responsibilities are around the house. But I am not raising him to be an employee somewhere. I mean, he can do that, but I'm raising him to kind of own himself. I'm raising him with an entrepreneurial bent because I think that serves all of us well. I mean, frankly, to stay home and run a household, to do it well, not to be a woman of leisure, but to actually run a household, it requires a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, actually a lot of an entrepreneurial spirit. So while he has very specific things that he does around the house and that he's responsible for, he also has a lot of things that he hasn't specifically been told to do, but it's just a general idea of help out, lighten the load for the rest of us. If all of us are paddling this boat, then we go faster, and none of us, has really sore arms when we get there. So a lot of it is kind of this spirit, and then he gets to, if he sees something that needs doing, he will do it. Or if I specifically ask him, then he'll do it, because I don't expect him to be a mind reader. And then, so it's specific things. I will say it is good both to say, just make sure that you've helped the family out today. And some days it won't be much, and some days it will be a lot more. Some days we're outside and we're weeding for 2 hours, and then some days it's just grabbing the mail and making sure that all of the trash is taken out. But I think it's good for that entrepreneurial, hey, looking around what needs doing, but it's also good to give him specific things to do, so that when we see that thing has been done, we're like, hey, thank you so much. Oh, this is so nice. Whereas I have found with my kids, if they kind of share responsibilities, like, hey, on these days you do the trash and on these days you do the trash, if one day they're not able to do it, then it all falls on the other person, then you're becoming a burden to each other. And when it's done, the rest of us don't get to look at one specific person and say, thank you so much. So I feel like it's important to have a mix of things that you do to help the family out. But again, that's high level, and so that's that. So it's me in the middle, and then it's household, family, outside, and then after that would be earning. So that's on top of the things you need to do anyway. for yourself, for the family. And when you go above and beyond that, that's where he has the opportunity to make some money. With all that context set to the side, now we're going to zoom back into specifically just earning, which obviously is what this video is about. So this is a very recent change, but some of the things that we pay him for are things, just to help us out as his parents, as a household, whatever. And then some of the things that he does are actually in our business. Right now he does package deliveries. So I think I mentioned this before, when we go to the different places to deliver packages, whether it's, UPS or the post office, or there's other places we go to. If he runs packages in for me, I give him 25 cents per time that we go. So if, for example, today we had to go to UPS and the post office, he made 50 cents. But the main point, so that's all I'm going to say about the video. The main point of this video is to talk about as a family and how he earns money and how we pay him that way. So we don't pay him an allowance. We pay him commissions, which is the whole, work, get paid. And again, Dave Ramsey's talked about this a lot. Work, get paid. Don't work, don't get paid. I think that spiritually and emotionally and all of that, it really does lead to less mind fucks as you get older. Typically, when he does do work for us, it's on weekdays, Monday through Friday, which is how a lot of work is done anyway, in the economy. So most of that is Monday through Friday. Typically, if we have things to be done on the weekend, like a yard project or something, typically we don't pay him for that. That's typically a family effort, and we do it together and we make it a family experience. When I pay him, he earns commissions on a weekly basis. So basically on Friday afternoons, like after academics are done, but before the day is totally done, we do what I call locking in his earnings. So when we lock it in, what we do is we open up his academic planner, and I have it right here. So I'm going to open it up and show you. First, we will look at the week of August 14th. And again, this is an academic planner. And so you can see on the left, it goes Monday through Friday. And then to the right, I've just added Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not before, but I colorize the days like on everything. I think it makes it way, way easier for everybody in the family to kind of orient themselves as to like what's going on. So I just do the Roy G. Biv colors. So you can ignore all the stuff to the left, but to the right, you can see there's a box just above Saturday that says earn. And so he's written in $10, mow the front lawn, $15, mow the back lawn, and then labels with some tally marks and floss with some tally marks. So what we will do on Friday afternoon when he's done with his academics is we'll sit down, he'll open this up, and he'll just tally up what he earned. So looking at this, you can see, he's made $25 from bigger jobs, and then $1 in labels, and $1.25 in floss. So we'll add that all together, and then we will jump to our devices. The first device, so I'm on mine, just like a laptop, and then he's on his. And we're just truly just sitting side by side next to each other at a table just like this. And each of us has two windows open. I have my budget, which I said again is in every dollar, and he has his budget, which is in every dollar. And then we both have our bank accounts that are tied to our checking accounts. We have those open as well. So there's 4 windows open, 2 on my device, 2 on his device. And so we sit and he'll say, I made, let's see, 25, 26, I made 27.25 this week. So I will go into my budget in every dollar, and I have a category, a big box that, says Diego, and it just has a bunch of stuff in it. And one of the line items in there is commissions. And so I will go to commissions and I will track, August, and this is Friday number 3 because it's Friday, August 18th. So that's the 3rd Friday of the month. So I will just type into my budget $27.25, and then in the memo, I will type in August, Friday number 3, commissions. And so then I'll put that in my budget so that according to my budget, I've spent the money. Then I will go to my banking information and I will actually do the transfer. So I will transfer $27.25 from my checking account down to his checking account. And in the memo on that, I will say the same, Diego commissions, August, Friday number 3. And then once I do that, then, he will, in his device, he'll refresh his banking information. His checking account should reflect a larger balance. So he'll look at it to confirm that he actually received the money, because even though we trust each other, It's good to inspect what you expect. And I don't want him to, I don't want to say be lazy, but I want him to be practiced at paying attention to details like that and not just taking someone's word, because not only are people sometimes dishonest, but also people make mistakes, and that's normal. And so it's good to get two sets of eyes on something to make sure everything is accurate. He will look at his banking information and confirm that he received the $27.25. Once he sees it's there, he'll go into his budget in every dollar, and within the income section where it says, commission Friday number 3 within his August budget, he'll type in that he plans to receive $27.25, but then he'll actually track that he did receive $27.25. I hope that made sense. I added in as many screenshots as I could as I kind of walked through that. So that's what we do. So if you look at the next Friday after that in his planner, that's August 21st through 25th, and that's the current week. So you can see over to the right where it says earn, and I have written, Friday number 4 because sometimes it's kind of hard to remember. I have labels 2 lines and floss 1 line. And actually we need 2 more lines on labels. But ever since he locked in his earnings on Friday afternoon, after that, all the money that he earned, if he earned money on Friday night or over the weekend, he would just track it within this week. So the week doesn't necessarily start on Monday, but it ends on Friday. Like I said, he doesn't typically earn a lot of money on the weekends unless he's doing like a big project for our business. But otherwise, he doesn't really earn a lot of money on the weekend. We don't do package deliveries on the weekend. He may, earn 50 cents from flossing, but really that's it. And so, once we lock in the earnings, we just move on to the next page or the next week, which is the next page, and he just starts tracking it there. Now, at the end of the month, that's when we lock it in. But until that time, even though he's received the money and he's tracked that he has the money, he can't do anything with it. So we don't reconcile his budget and add money to spending and add money to, different categories until the end of the month. So he really only has payday once a month. And that is helpful to, I don't want to say practicing delaying gratification, but just practicing patience, because that's really kind of how the world is. So how do we know what to pay him? Pretty simple. We pay him whatever we would pay anybody else to do the job who has his level of skill and independence. So for example, to mow the lawns, as you know, the front lawn is $10 and the back lawn is $15. And then also if he does the trimmer, that's $5. I'm very specific about where I want him to do the trimmer and where I don't, and it's not a whole lot. So $5 is a pretty good amount. So I think if we hired anybody else to do the yard, they would probably charge us about $30. Now, we used to pay him a little bit more because we had more lawn. We cut the lawn out. This is not a charity, so we weren't like, oh, well, I think we paid him $40 at that point. We're going to still pay you $40. No. Also, I was paying him a little more for what I call the PETA factor, the pain in the ass factor. Our property is shaped really weird, and we just had some really weird angles and curves, and the pain in the ass factor to mow our lawn was higher than normal, and so we paid him a little more for that. Well, we've done a little bit about that. There's not as much lawn for him to deal with, and so the amount that we pay him has come down. But it hasn't come down as much as it would, because at the same time, he doesn't need us to lift the bags of grass out of the mower and dump them in a trash can anymore. He has enough upper body strength and size, height, that he can do that himself. He's strong enough to start them. It's still a gas mower at this point. He has enough strength to restart it himself. When he started doing the lawns, he wasn't in that place. So I had to be outside with him, and it was fine. I'd be pulling weeds or doing the trimmer or doing other yard work while he was mowing. But when he would need to stop it to, do the bag, he would be like, hey, Mom, will you help me do the bag? Hey, Mom, will you restart the mower? I'm not going to pay you as much as I would pay someone else who doesn't need me to be involved, right? So we negotiate rates with him, and we pay him what we would pay someone else, like I said, who had his skill level, independence level, ability level. That brings me to the topic of negotiation. So I've said previously that there are certain things that are, like, in my mind, extremely important to learning as part of the process of growing up and becoming more independent. I believe that, like, for example, gardening, making things grow, understanding photosynthesis and all that good stuff, the importance of organic, non-organic, so many things that it's so important. You become in tune with the seasons. You understand so much more about life and just the way the world is, the way the world works. Another thing that I think is very important, like should be a core subject, is negotiation. Negotiation, obviously, when we hear that, at least here in the States, I think a lot of us think of, you're going to buy a car and how do you not get screwed? But negotiation is how to handle disagreements with people. It's just negotiation. How do you make your way down a path when there's obstacles? And so I feel like that's really important. Negotiation, you learn how to really analyze yourself, like from an unemotional standpoint. Like, yeah, how much is the work worth that I'm doing? Do I really want to do this? Is it worth it to me to do that job for that much money? It's so important. So we practice negotiation with him, and hopefully soon he'll be able to do it more with people that he's not as familiar with. But it's great. So that's another opportunity that we have with paying him to do things, is we negotiate. And we practice taking off our mom and dad hat, taking off our son hat, and just putting on our people trying to come to a mutually beneficial agreement hat, put those hats on. We'll leave negotiation there. We can talk about that another time if there's interest in that. But we do practice negotiation. So that's how we decide how much to pay. And there have been times where he's been like, I'll do this for that much money. And I've said, I don't think it's worth that. Like, I could pay the neighbor kids to do it for what I'm offering you. And there have been times where he said, okay, well, I don't want to do that. And there's been times where he's been like, okay, that seems fair. There have also been times when I've offered him a certain amount and he said, well, but what about the wasps? What about this? What about that? And and I've been like, yeah, I think that's fair. I think you're right. So there have been times when we haven't come to an agreement, and there have been times where there's been some back and forth, and then there's been times where we just throw something out and he's like, okay, cool. I mean, he is 12, so he doesn't have as much understanding and experience in the world as he will, when he's 20. We do not take advantage of him. Something that's very important to me is to help my kids develop a bullshit detector. So, there's the saying, it's better to be a warrior, like someone who fights, in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I believe that fully. I don't think that you should have to come from a rougher neighborhood to have some street smarts and to be able to go back and forth with people and have, be a little gritty and have a little bit of rough edges. I think it's possible to live in a very safe, very comfortable environment, situation, and to still have some of those benefits of having come from a rougher neighborhood. And I'll use myself as an example. My mom and dad come from, I don't know that they definitely weren't as rough neighborhoods when my parents were growing up as they were when I was a child. But my parents are from east of East LA. I learned a lot from them just about being smart, about not leaving valuable things in your car, and just simple things in terms of awareness and understanding, and when someone does this, what that means. And I grew up in the suburbs. I didn't grow up in a rough area at all, but I feel like I've always been able to handle myself and navigate some really strange, weird, potentially dangerous situations because of some of the ways that I was raised. So I think that giving your kids the opportunity to earn money in your house and practicing negotiation with them is a good thing to do. And in the vein of earning money and all of that, he understands, yes, we want to give him the opportunity to earn money so that he can do cool stuff that costs money and not have to just, Mom, Dad, will you do this for me? He understands that, but he also understands that we are very busy. I am a hands-on, all the time parent. I'm educating my kids. I'm running a household. I'm working in a business. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. We only have 2 kids, partly because we knew that we would have a lot going on and we wouldn't be able to be as hands-on with 3 or 4 as with 2. And so one of the reasons why we pay him to do things for us is because we need his help. We appreciate his help, but we need his help. And so we do expect to benefit from the work that he does. I think it's very patronizing and disrespectful to pay someone money to, say, vacuum your living room floor, and then you're like, that wasn't good enough, I'm going to do it after. Now, if they're training, and we're real specific when we say, hey, you're training, this is your training rate, which might not cost anything, or it might be, half or whatever. It's one thing to say, hey, you're training, so you're going to vacuum and then I'm going to show you after, or I'm going to vacuum first and then you're going to go after me. I think that's totally fine. But the reason isn't just for his benefit. It's so that he can benefit our family as well. It needs to be mutually beneficial, and there is great emphasis on that. And that really does help him when he comes up with ideas of new things to do around here, because he does think to himself, would that help my mom and dad? Would that help my sister? Like, would that ease the burden? Or is that just something that I just want to do? So specifically, the flossing. I know different people have different opinions about this. Don't pay your kids to take care of their teeth, pay them. My husband's in the middle of an implant situation right now, and our insurance is fighting it. That's a different topic, not the topic of this video, but it is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I almost had to have an implant in the front. You can't tell, but I'm missing a tooth in the front. Dental problems are, and here's the thing, my implant issue, my husband's implant issue, those were both genetic, hereditary situations. We take very good care of our teeth, but you just never know. So, and with teeth, it's like there's no going back. Like, I have root canals and I can't go back and just have like fully healthy natural teeth. So teeth are another hill I'm willing to die on. Like, I feel like if I can get my kids to their 20s with no dental issues aside from just genetic things, that will be a win, and I am willing to pay them to do that because it's that critical to me. So he has braces, and I pay him 25 cents every night to floss his teeth because it's such a pain in the ass. He does a water flosser, he does the string floss, he does toothpaste, and he has a prescription strength, and then he does mouthwash. So he has very good oral hygiene in the evenings, and then during the day, he's supposed to brush his teeth a couple of times. I don't police that. We talk about it sometimes, but I don't police that. But in the evenings, like, that is the routine. So he knows he doesn't have a choice, but he also knows that it's so important to me, and I just love the fact that he's doing that I'm willing to pay him 25 cents. And it's really not that much money over the span of braces to pay him 25 cents a night to floss. And it really is a motivator for him. The fact that I pay him to do it also is a way to communicate to him how important it is to me that he does it. So $1.75 a week, it's a very cheap way to ensure that he's taking good care of his teeth. And the reason why I tie the money specifically to floss is because that is the biggest hassle in the whole tooth routine. So if he's willing to floss, all the rest of it is just easy. One more thing that I want to say about the jobs. I talked a lot about the jobs and negotiating and all of that good stuff. But it's very important to me that he feels proud, that he feels needed, that he feels like there are certain aspects of our home that are beautiful, clean, not smelly or gross, specifically because he is here and he is the man taking care of it. And I think, you can tell your kids all day, you're important, you're important, you're important, but actions are louder than words. And he knows that he's important. When he sees all summer his dad has not mown that lawn once, his dad's been in here busting his butt, working as much as possible. When he's not eating or bathing or sleeping, he is either working or he is having quality time with his family. When he sees that and that he handled the lawn, like, he knows that he's an important part of this family and that we need him, we appreciate him, and we love him. Okay, so let me just go through sort of my summary of notes that I haven't covered yet. So earning money is a part of life, and I feel like if you've never earned money before, it's hard to be really good at managing money. And not that you'll always have to earn money. I haven't had to earn money for like 14 years now, but I did have to earn money. I mean, I moved out of my mom's house when I was 18. I did have to earn money. I did have to figure things out. And as a result, I'm like better than I would be at managing resources. I feel like it's better to get good at earning money and but easier to get better at managing money when you don't need very much money. Like, the stakes aren't that high. Instead of making a $500 mistake, you're gonna make like a $15 mistake. Another thing, we give him more opportunities than he cares to pursue or he can pursue. I'm always giving him ideas and throwing things out. And some of the things are things that he's probably not really qualified to do right now, like painting a room, for example. But I'm throwing these things out there, one, to tell him, I think that if you really research and figure out how to do it, I think that you can do it. I see you as being capable. He also, when I do that, he sees, okay, like the world is wide open. Like there's a lot of doing that needs to be done. What do I want to do? Also, when I talked earlier about the me things he has to do, the household family things he has to do, and the earning things he has to do, those things have all progressed together over time. So he does more for himself now than he did, 3 years ago. He does more for the family and the household just because he lives here and he loves us and he's practicing that. He does more of that now than he did 3 years ago, and he makes more money than he did 3 years ago. So all those things move up together. When he said he wanted to make more money, he said he wants to make $1,000 this year, which is $20 a week for 50 weeks. That increased income comes with fewer reminders. Whereas before I would be like, hey, you said your goal was $8 this week. How are you doing? Now I don't really remind him. In conversation, I may say, hey, the grass is getting long. What day were you planning on doing that? So I can make sure that, the grass isn't wet or, whatever in the morning. So we may talk about things, but part of him making more money is him getting fewer reminders from me. So it's a little more internal self-motivation. And over time, some of the things that he used to get paid for have migrated into the family things. So there are some things that he does for the family because he lives here. But when he was 6, I paid him to do those things. And in the vein of being more independent, needing fewer reminders, it used to be, even a year and a half ago, that I would say to him on Friday, hey, are you almost ready to lock in your earnings? How's that going? Or do you need to wrap up for the week, or are you ready? Now he comes to me on Friday. And there have been some Thursdays even where he's been like, I know it's not Friday yet, but I'm done earning money this week, so can we lock it in now? So that's pretty cool. He's coming to me now, and I'm not really going to him anymore. And his sister, who is 9.5, she is seeing that. She is growing up in that environment where she's hearing those conversations happening, which, he didn't have the benefit of that when he was 9.5. Oh, and on negotiation, I should say, I guess it's kind of obvious, but maybe not. We negotiate those rates before he does the work because that's how the world of business is. So we're practicing good, clear, proactive communication with him. I mean, it's in the little details where we learn this stuff, where we practice this stuff, where we pick this stuff up. And these are the sorts of things that you are not going to learn if you're in daycare or if you're engrossed in, on an iPad or whatever. Like these are just little things practiced day in and day out that make a person. Okay, so that's it on this video. We're done. That's part 1 of the logistics of how my son earns money. Like I said, in the next video, we will finish this topic. So we will talk about payday, and payday is the last Friday of the month. So right after we lock in his earnings, we just do payday right then and there. And then we'll also talk about what he does with his money after payday, how he uses it. So that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.